Good morning, everybody. It's so exciting to have you here this morning. And, you know, time is kind of relevant or irrelevant. We have a wonderful guest today, and she's from the other side of the world. Okay. I mean, almost exactly. So we'll go into that in a minute. But I'm Carol Henderson, and I have Life by Design. And I want you to know that you can design your life and you can, like I always say, spiral it up or you can spiral it down. And our guest today is going to tell us so much good stuff about that. But before we introduce her, let me bring on my co-host, the impeccable Barbara Ellison.
Well, hi there, everybody. Welcome to Thoughtful Thursdays. This is so cool. Aging is a number, and aging gracefully is very possible. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But we're also going to talk about I just want to introduce you to my friend that I have known. Oh, yeah, Wendy, how long have we known each other? It's been years.
Oh, it is. Can't believe it already.
Years. Anyways, but you know what? We're going to talk about your words. The power that your words have in your life. And one of the things about this show is that we want you to live your best life ever. Mm-hmm. And so Wendy is going to give you some tips and strategies and tell you how she came to be here. And it's like, yeah, words have power. So Wendy, how are you doing this morning?
Hello. I'm very well, thank you, and really excited to be here. It is morning on the other side of the world at the other end of the day. So when you have your morning, I have my evening. So this is fun time travel that we're doing at the moment. Really good fun. Yeah. I've already had my Thursday. You're doing this, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes, I've already had my Thursday. And it was a really good day, I have to tell you, ladies. So enjoy your Thursday to come.
That's right. You get to have your day before us.
Yes.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. I have a very helpful app called Dateful Time app. Mm-hmm. So I can plug in where in the world somebody else is, and I know what time of day it is for them, which is really handy.
Well, and I have a clock, and it was actually a gift / award something when I had my model and talent agency, and when you did certain things, and it's this big beautiful clock, and it's thick, and I used to hang on my wall at the agency, stand on my desk at other times, but it has a plane that flies around. And so it flies around to the different hours, and it also flies light and dark so that you can know what time it is in those places and whether it's morning or night. And I don't know how many times I've said I need to bring that in. It's out in the barn upstairs where I had moved all my office stuff when I closed my brick and mortar, but I need to bring that in here because it would be helpful now that I'm back again working with people all over the world. So it would be helpful. So I need to, I could even hang it back here on the wall. But then y'all see the time and I wouldn't.
But yeah, the time is so funny because a friend of mine, she's from China, and so she was like, when she goes home, it's like, okay, yeah, what time is it? Okay, and so when she goes, she loses a day because she passes over the international date line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just I mean, it's just funny. And one of the things too is that a friend of mine lives in Newfoundland, and she's on the half hour. So she is 2.5 hours ahead of me. Half hour? It's like, okay. And that just messes us up all over the place. But anyways, so yeah, just one of the little idiosyncrasies of time zones and the time zone gremlins.
Sure.
And the time zone the gremlins get us every once in a while.
Well, particularly when you guys change your clocks.
Well, and that's supposed to stop.
And then
that is yes, that is supposed to stop because I am not a fan of that And I don't care which one we have, just leave it alone. Because just about the time you catch up from one, it changes again. And then you catch, it takes a while to acclimate. And yeah, but Texas is so big that the part of it, everybody thinks of it in Central, but there's the little tip over there where El Paso is. I guess I should do this over where El Paso is. And that is mountain time because it's so. But if you travel from LA to Dallas, Los Angeles, California to Dallas, Texas, and friends will drive and they'll get to El Paso and they'll call and go, "We're in Texas, we're nearly there." And it's like, no, you're still closer to LA than you are to Dallas. And where I live, I'm closer to Denver than I am to Austin, which is our capital. So yeah.
Big place. Big place.
Yeah.
Big state. Big state.
Doesn't look far on the map.
Nope, it doesn't. And especially when you compare it to Australia, but and with you compare it to the other states, I'll have to send you a map of all the states that'll fit into Texas.
Well, we can fit the whole of Europe into part of Australia.
Yeah, we can fit Texas. We can fit most of Europe into Texas. Yeah. So yeah.
Big place.
Anyways. So Wendy, tell us about,
let's get to Wendy.
Let's get down to
it. Geography.
But this is your geography lesson for the day.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and we've been known to go down little rabbit trails. So
come back, Bunny. Come back.
Come back. All right. So Wendy, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. We're excited to be back with you ladies again. I always love chatting to you too.
So
we love chatting to you too. And guys, I'm gonna confess, we came on and I hadn't talked to Wendy before we came on this morning, and we kind of had a little pre-brief, and I'm sitting there looking at her, and finally she goes, I already know you. And I helped Barbara with her show when her co-host couldn't come. And so we interviewed Wendy, which it was and that's, I think when we said we've got to have her on.
We were going to have her on, right.
But I slept since then.
Oh, that was a few months ago too.
Yeah, it was a while. And so I'm like, okay. And I said, did I meet you at a networking event? Because I'm looking at her, I'm like, her background was familiar, her face was familiar, her voice was familiar. Well, I had interviewed her.
But what? That's the funny thing. The fun thing about it too is that hey, we're all human.
Golly, yes.
And for me, once in a while, it's like I know you, but where do I know you from?
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay, so Wendy, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what you do, because we can see your words have power, and our viewers know that I'm always talking about the spoken word and the power of the word, and you build your life with your words, and the whole world was spoken into being, and such as that. So tell us more.
Ooh, well, Your Words Have Power is the title that came up. We had a bit of an experiment. We had a bit of a brain fart, if you will, just before International Women's Day came up this year. And we had an invitation for women and an open mic session. And people could come from wherever they were in the world for 3 minutes to share some wisdom with other women. And it went down so well that people were saying, how have we missed this? And we thought, oh, maybe we should do this again. So now, every month, twice a month, we have an opportunity for speakers to share 10 minutes of wisdom in front of an international audience. We do it twice a month because we have one session that's Euro-friendly and one session that's North America-friendly. Because, as we've all established that nobody's up all the time. So that's where
sometimes we feel like it.
Oh golly, yes.
In a minute you'll have to bunny trail your little last couple of days. But anyway, go ahead and finish.
So that's how the platform Your Words Have Power came about. And I work with speakers to get them red hot for the red spot. So I work with speakers to get ready for a TEDx. So it's also an opportunity for people to see what it feels like to be on a virtual stage. Most of TEDx these days are on real stages. However, there are still some that are virtual. And as we all know, things can change on a dime and they can go back to being virtual. So it's that opportunity for getting in front of people. So that's where the platform came from, and that's where the name came from. The concept behind it is that I work with speakers on 3 levels. External communication, which is what most speakers think of. I've got this presentation coming up. How do I craft it? How do I deliver it? The external stuff. If I have them for any length of time, we work on the internal stuff as well, because that's pretty important. If you don't match up this bit with this bit, these guys are going to give you away. Your non-verbals will leak, as I say. So your facial expression, there may be micro shakes of your head and all sorts of different nuances. And it's also important for you to feel authentic, because your audience will pick up on what you're saying.
Even if they don't know they're picking up on it.
Exactly.
It's something that's built into us, I think, for our safety. But anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Definitely. Because you know yourself, if you've been in a room, you know somebody's walked in. You have your back to the door, and you can feel their energy ahead of them come. And some of them, it's going to be, whoa, who's that? And some it's going to be, oh, who's that? Because you can feel either the warmth energy coming in, or you can feel a vacuum as the energy gets sucked out. So yes, we do that on an unconscious level. And that's where people will look for authenticity, and they will pick up when you're not being authentic, because head and heart don't match. Because guess what? Where does head and heart go through? The voice. So that's a little bit of that. The 3rd level, which is the thing that I believe is unique to me in terms of speaker training, is what I call internal communication. Your body has its own internal communication system. And within that, your connective tissue holds a memory. And if you've got stored up energy that's not been released because you've been in a situation where you weren't able to deal with it safely at the time, it gets stuck. And when it gets stuck, your fascia binds down, and any restriction will show in your voice. So that's the 3rd element of it, that we release the fascia. The voice sounds even more resonant, and you are even more attractive as a speaker. So those are my 3 levels. What else would you like to know? That's just dumped you a whole heap of stuff. So over to you to unpick that.
I think one of the things that always fascinated me about and talking to you is like, how do people, like, one of my things is I want to do a TED Talk.
Excellent.
And one of the things, how do you go about starting? I mean, besides hiring you, it's like,
of course. But one of the things, I mean, you're going to have, depending on where you apply, you're going to have anywhere from 5 minutes, if it's what they call a TEDx short. And there are some groups which do that, and they have a pack in 10 maybe speakers in a day, if not more, for 5 minutes. That for me as an audience member is real fire hose jobs.
Yeah.
Most of them,
I don't think I would even like go to talk like that.
No, most of them are between 12 to 15 minutes. If your name's Brené Brown, you'll get the full 18 minutes and then some.
Right.
But most of us haven't got there yet. So that's where we do the 12 to 15 minutes, which is why the Your Words Have Power is 10 minutes, because you can always extend it a little bit.
Oh, right.
That's why we do that section. So you're usually looking about 12 to 15 minutes. If you didn't know, Barbara, every TEDx is a different group. It's a franchise.
Right. Yes.
So as long as you stick to the book of words, which is about this fat from TED, you can have your own flavor of it. So some groups focus on youth, some are in prisons, some are for academics. There are lots of different flavors, if you will, of TEDx groups. So one of the things to look at is what you want to say. Does it fit into one of those categories that's around your area?
Okay.
Because whilst it may be fun to go off to Hawaii and do it, if the team in Hawaii say, we need you to be there for rehearsals on beforehand for the next few weeks, you're going to have to go and camp there. Some teams will say, right, rock up for the dress rehearsal and then get on with it. Some teams will expect you to be involved for 6 months.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
So it depends on where you want to go, the sort of theme you've got, the team that I'm attached to from the other side. So I'm also a speaker coach for the University of Western Australia team. That once you get accepted for a TEDx, all of your coaching is done for free. Because the whole ethos of TEDx is it's all voluntary. So the speakers don't get paid, the team are all voluntary, the coaches don't get paid. It's all a voluntary thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So then that's where I give back to most of our guys come in from either faculty or alumni. And so they tend to have a very definitely intellectual basis to what they're saying. And I've had a couple of lecturers say, Wendy, I've been lecturing for 25 years. I know how to speak. You know how to lecture, yeah, but it's very different being on the red spot.
Mm-hmm.
And after a couple of sessions, they've said to me, yeah, you were right. It is different, isn't it? I mean, yeah, it is.
Right. And people don't think it's different. It's like difference of being on a podcast, doing like a conversation, or as opposed to doing a lecture in front of a, in front of a group. It's very different.
It
and
is.
So, yeah.
It's also different doing a presentation in Zoom land or doing it in person. We had one guy who's used to doing in-person stuff, and he was being very expansive with his gestures. And I said, I'm sure you're doing something really important with your hands. Can't see them. Bring it in.
Right.
So yes, there are different styles that are required for different sorts of public speaking. Mm-hmm. But absolutely. Yeah. Barbara, you would be brilliant, and I would love to know what particular theme you were going to take.
Yes, because... it's on my list. It's on my list. But speaking of gestures and stuff, I took a class called Make the Stage, and that was exactly what they were teaching us to do these big, grand gestures, and we were like, and just to exaggerate everything, because one of the things they said was you have to assume that you are going to be in a venue that you have to talk to the furthest person away from you.
Yep. Exactly.
And it was really a fascinating class to take. But it was like, oh, wow. Yeah, really, to really exaggerate things, that because people that are far, like in the cheap seats have to be able to see it.
Exactly.
Well, and that goes back.
And that's the point, you own your stage.
Yeah, that goes back in my background, the difference between TV and film. You know, somebody moving around and they're on a big screen, a tiny little movement, and they're going like this. You know, on the big screen, and then the stage, you know, of the big gestures and the loud voice. And a friend of mine, and Barbara, was that you I was talking to? We were talking about this one particular singer who lives in Russia. And
yeah,
you know, she sings opera, and she has a beautiful voice, and her songs they're fabulous. but it's not enjoyable in all venues.
In a small venue.
You
Because you
know,
can't understand it because she sings opera in
yeah,
a small venue.
yeah.
And I was like, I couldn't understand a word she said. What she was
Mm.
singing. I knew
Yes.
she was singing, but I had no idea what she was saying.
And it was beautiful.
It
You
was,
know,
yeah. But yeah, very different because it was a small room and she was still in her opera voice.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the things I suggested to speakers is if they get the opportunity, if they're doing an in-person thing, is to go into the venue the day before. Even if the venue's not set up, say if you're doing a venue where you've got tables and things and the people are going to be sitting around, you know, like the premise of this show is we sit around the table and we discuss things.
right.
Right.
There will be times when you're presenting in front of a group of people who are there. Maybe it's an after dinner speech or whatever. My suggestion very strongly is to get into the venue and just get a feel for the energy.
Right.
How big do I need to be to fill this space? There will be also the acoustics to bear in mind, but if they haven't set up yet, you won't have the tables and the chairs and whatever, which will dampen the sound, because there is an acoustic element to this as well. If you're in a barn of a place where there's no soft furnishings, it will echo.
Right.
And you have to be aware of that. Now, obviously, the more people that are in there, they'll absorb sound as well. But I was presenting in somebody's brand new flat the other week, apartment, and it's clean lines and blinds, and as in pulley down blinds, no soft furnishings as such. And the noise level, there were 25 women in there networking. I came out of there with the most awful headache because the noise was bouncing.
Oh, right. That's near my where I live. We have a restaurant and has one of those open concept ceilings. I can't go in there because it bounces off the ceiling, and it's like exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
I came out of there going,
Yeah.
Well,
it
and
wasn't
popular here,
cool.
yeah, popular here is the concrete floors and the metal, the wavy metal walls, and you know, stuff like that. And yeah, and it gets I think they're seeming to get better. Either that or my hearing is not as sharp as it used to be. But you know, they're more pleasant than they were. So I don't know if they've started putting up some sound barriers at some of the places or what. But oh, there for a while it was just like, ugh, don't go there to eat.
Yeah.
That was at my church, our like all-purpose room where we, you know, like the assembly hall, not the church in the church sanctuary, but our like all-purpose room type of thing. And it had terrible echo because it was just so big. And well, then we got a new pastor who was a musician. And
He got it.
Oh yeah, this has got to we need to do something about this room. And so it was so nice because then all of a sudden we had all of these they're baffling things that they're up on the walls. What a difference it has
My
made.
friend invented them. A guy I graduated with invented those. Sells them to churches worldwide. Yeah. Yeah.
It was just in our fellowship, the fellowship hall. It was, I mean, you could hear the kids and they would be bound when we got our new pastor, and it was like he said, yeah, no, we're changing that. We're doing something about this with this it was just ridiculous. So now we don't even hear the kids.
But isn't it great? I mean, they're wonderful. And,
what
he holds multiple patents. He's brilliant, but he specifically, his heart is to do those for churches. I mean, he does it for everything and you know, all kinds of sound mixing and stuff. Yeah.
In the old days, we used to put up egg boxes.
Right. It's a they kind of, that's what I thought they looked like when I first saw them. I said, gee, it looks like an egg carton, you know, but yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but the paper egg cartons are great for that. I mean, they
Mhm.
really are.
Because I too am a singer, so I appreciate the acoustics from that perspective as well.
Mhm.
So yes.
My husband and I in our house, and I still live here, but partway down our stairs, it was absolutely the perfect, it had perfect acoustics. And so many times it would be like, come on, let's go sing on the stairs. And we would stand in our stairs and we would sing because it was absolutely, we sounded so good, because it was perfect acoustics. And so, and it was funny because a couple of weeks ago, because he's been gone, it'll be 11 years this year. But the other day it was like, oh yeah, I haven't sang on the stairs. And I was here by myself and I went, I'm going to go sing on the stairs.
Good for you.
And I did, just to remember David. And because quite often. I mean, usually at least once a week, especially if he was practicing, because he was a worship leader. So he would want a new song. Oh, let's go sing on the stairs. And we would sing on the stairs. So
Beautiful. Beautiful.
yeah, but perfect acoustics really do make a difference.
They do. They do.
And bad acoustics. One time I went to see, I'm trying to think of what group it was. And we were not quite sure what happened. Obviously something happened. The acoustic, we were in a concert hall, but I guess there had been some construction or something. We could not understand a word that the band was saying. The acoustics were so bad. And all of us were looking at each other. I mean, it wasn't just us. All bunch of people around us were like, why are we having such trouble with this? And it just didn't sound good. And afterwards we found out that they had done some construction and it wasn't finished or whatever it was, but it had changed the acoustics of the opera center.
Well, you see, that's again, that's the subtle stuff,
right.
The underlying stuff that on the surface we pick up that something's wrong,
right?
But we don't necessarily know what it is at the time.
Yeah.
And that, if I can pull that back to our internal communication,
right,
that is where, if you like, the internal acoustics are off, so that what comes out doesn't quite match. Now, can I share with you? I'm sorry, I'm kind of taking over here.
No, it's your show, darling. You just take over all you want.
You tell us what because we want to make a difference in the world. So you're
well, being able to share your origin story is really important in a way that's going to make sense to your audience, because there will be elements of your origin story which are, frankly, so what? Why is that important to me? Because you need to do it from the audience's perspective. Now, a lot of people come to me and say, well, Wendy, you've been speaking all your life. You don't understand what it's like to be nervous about standing up in front of people. I mean, that's you've been doing it all your life. Well, yes and no, because if I can share with you, indulge me for a minute, my origin story was when I was when I was 2, you weren't allowed to stay in children in the 60s. And it meant that my parents had to stay away. And I remember the double doors closing as a 2-year-old, shouting and screaming for my mum, and she didn't come for me. And I made the decision at that time, an unconscious decision, that my voice didn't matter. Everybody else's did, but mine didn't. So again, very unconscious. That became then my little script. Right. And it meant that I chose to be a speech pathologist because other people's voice mattered. And I was going to work with people to make sure that their voice did matter and that they could find their voice. And that's what I did for almost 30 years. And then I was kind of kicked out of the nest into more of the coaching training side of things. That's a story for another day. And I've still been working with other people because their voice mattered. Still mine didn't. And it was only in the last year and a half, if that I even accessed that early memory and realized it's about time that I realized my voice matters.
Right.
So I do appreciate when people say to me, oh, but you don't know what it's like to stand up in front of people. Well, actually, I do. Because only recently have I been saying it's time for me to lead from the front and for me to get out on stages, whether it be a podcast like this, whether it be a TEDx, which I had planned to do this year, courtesy of COVID, didn't get the opportunity. There are stages out there, and now I've made that decision, that internal script that my voice matters. I'm getting opportunities to share, and people can see that I am leading from the front.
Right.
So that's where what I call flipping the script comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the thing I would encourage you ladies and all your audience to think is, what are those internal scripts I'm running?
Right.
And are they still working for me? Because as a 2-year-old, I had to make that decision. It was the only way I was going to live life. As a 50-something, it's not been serving me.
Right.
So it's now time to flip that script and share my story with the world and be that example to say that it is important for you to share your story. It is important for your message to get out to the world.
Yeah.
So that's my challenge.
Yeah.
What's the script you've been running, even if you're not aware of it? And is it still serving you?
Right. Oh. We talked about that this morning on our call. We have a weekly call that Carol and I are part of, and that's one of the things that we talked about this morning. What are you running that's not serving you anymore? What do you need to let go of that's not serving you anymore?
Yeah.
So it was just a really interesting call.
And because your words are how you think, being very careful about the words that you use. I mean, I can't remember, Carol, I believe it was you who started off by saying the world was formed through words. Absolutely. Let there be light. God spoke the world into being. Definitely. So words do have a heck of a lot of power. Create worlds. Whether that, and your world is created in here.
Yes.
By the words you use. So being aware of your language patterns is incredibly freeing. Sometimes it requires a trusted other person to go, do you know what? You say that rather a lot. Are you aware of that? If you can trust them to be the mirror rather than provide the beating stick, it's a good thing to have somebody who says, oh, is that really helping?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and people fall into habits and they fall into patterns of saying bad things about themselves and bad things about their circumstances and bad things, and griping about the weather. Oh, we're in this drought. The drought, the crops are going to die because of the drought, the drought, the drought, the drought. Well, you're just speaking it. You're cementing it in instead of saying, oh, we'll have rain again. We'll have rain again someday.
Rain's coming.
Yeah, rain's coming. And so, it is so important. It is so important about your words because you make or break your life with it. And if you stop and think about the people in your surroundings and in your life, look at them. Look at their life. Is it a pleasant life? Is it a good life? What are their words? Or you look at somebody over here, is it a pleasant life? Is it a bad life? Is it a worse life? Are they sick? Are they tired? Are they, always in debt? Well, number one, are they tithing? But we won't get on that platform. But, the whole thing of what are they saying about their life? What are they saying about themselves? You can change it. You can change it. Find a friend. like Wendy was saying, that can say, in fact, Barbara and I even sometimes we'll call each other up on something. In fact, I used to say, oh, no problem. No problem. It's okay. No problem. And she said, you better quit saying that because all you're doing, you're calling problem, problem, problem. And I'm like, oh, you're right.
All good.
Yeah.
All good.
That you have to make that deal between yourself that you will not get angry or frustrated when somebody calls you up on it.
Right.
Yes.
A mentor of mine, he and his wife, he has taught on this a lot. But anyway, they agreed to call each other up on their words. And every time he'd say, oh, my leg hurts, or there's something wrong here. I don't know what it is, or it might be a disease, and name the disease because you want me to agree with that. Yeah.
Nice.
Or two or more agree. Do you want me to agree with that? And it didn't take long to where he quit doing that. So anyway.
And that's such a gentle way of doing it as well.
Yeah. Of course, my husband don't like me to say it that way. I said, yeah, you want me to agree with that? And he goes,
well, I could tell you not to do it, and that would be worse, wouldn't it? Do you want me to nag you, or would you like me to quit?
Oh, well, guys, I hate that this is.
We're gonna have to have
time
Wendy
is
on.
up. We have to have her on again. This has been delightful. Wendy, very quickly, tell them how they can get a hold of you if they want to work with you.
Certainly. Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm happy to send you the information for you can stick in the show notes.
Yes.
You are more than welcome to come in and be a speaker champion, aka audience member for the Your Words Have Power, so you can see how it works from the inside. Speakers who come on, we require an investment because there's so much that goes into it from our end. But more than happy for you to do that. The moment we're running it on the second Sunday of the month for you guys, it's 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll leave you to sort out the maths in the middle.
Well, yeah, we'll put all that in the show notes. So be sure and get that to me because that's great. That would be fun to be in an audience. But guys, we're going to have to go. So I'm going to say thank you so much, Wendy. And please share this. Please tell your friends about it because it is so much fun. And just when we all show up as the audience, think what we can learn. Think what we can learn.
We're going to have to do that.
Yes. So
okay.
Anyway, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.